back to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I really appreciate you guys for subscribing to my channel. So if you are new to my channel, you are very welcome. If you have not subscribed already, I would appreciate if you would unsubscribe. So guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to cut and sew a ball gown. So this gown is really simple and easy. So I'm just going to show you how to do it. So for this, I'm going to be making use of I actually have 6 yards, but I'm not going to use the whole 6 yards. So 3 yards or 3.5 yards will do, depends on how full you want the down part of your gown. So I'm just going to quickly cut out fabric for the top part of this dress. So I have my fabric folded into two. So I've cut out the amount of fabric I need for the top part of my bodice. So for this, for a beginner, when you are cutting, you cut two pieces. So what you are going to use, the length you are going to use your half cut. And for this case, the half cut I'm making use of is 15 inches. So I cut out 16 inches because of stitching allowance for the top. I'll use ½ inch up and ½ inch down. So the next thing you are going to consider in cutting out your fabric is the width. So you are going to use your bust and measurement. So you divide your bust into 4. For instance, if your bust is 40, you are going to measure and divide into 4. You have 10, and then you add about 3 inches allowance to it, so that's 13. So you fold your fabric like this at 13 inches, and then the back piece, you are going to make it like 1.5 inch and bigger than the front piece. So that's just like basically what you need. So now we're going to just start. We're going to start like this. What we're going to do now, we're going to impute our basic and line. This is not a bust, it's just a free and waist dart. So the bust and point, so I'm going to drop a link on how to take measurements. So when you watch it, it will be so easy for you. So the bust point for this, that's your shoulder to your nipple, that's 9 inches. Shoulder to nipple is 9 inches. Then shoulder to under bust is 12 inches. That's your bust point, 12 inches. Then your waist is 15 inches. That's the half cut where we're cutting it. So once you have your lines like this imputed here, the next thing you are going to do for this and this dress, we're going to be adding we're going to be making cold shoulder circle sleeves for it. So it's going to really be fine. So you are going to measure out your shoulder measurement. You put your tape here, and then the shoulder measurement that I'm making use of for this dress is actually 13.5. That's 13.5. So you divide it into 2, and then you will mark it on this point, and then you add between 1 inch or 1.5 inch allowance. So it depends on the case. So I'm going to measure out my sleeve and length. So the sleeve that's my armhole. I'll use 7 inches for my armhole. So I'm just going to I'll use the short ruler. I'm just going to mark it like this for the armhole now. So I'm going to mark the armhole, but before I cover out the armhole, I'm going to take my bust and circumference. That's my bust width. That's the round. That's your bust measurement. So the bust that I'm making use of for this is actually 32. So when you divide 32 into 4, you have 8 inches. So I'm going to come to this point like this. I'm going to place 8 inches here like this. This is 8 inches. Because I'm going to take out that from the waist part, so it will not get to this point. So this is my 8 inches. I'm going to add between 2.5 inches or 2.5 inches allowance is ideal. So I'm going to add it. So from this point now, you're going to mark out. You're just going to take it up, and then from this point, this will enable you and take out your armhole to cover out your armhole properly. You understand? So you curve it that way, and then this one is straight. So I'm just trying to straighten it out. So the next thing, you're going to take out your under bust and measurement. So the under bust that I'm making use of is actually 28 inches. So when you divide 28 into 4, you are going to divide it into 4. So I'm going to have 7 inches. So I'm just going to place it like this. This is 7 inches, and then I'll repeat my 2.5 inches allowance here like this. So I'm going to use this ruler, connect it to this point. and then I'll take my waistline measurement. So the waist measurement is actually 28 inches. Yeah, it's 28. So when you divide and 28, so it's the same thing. So I'm just going to repeat what I have here like this. So I'll connect it like this, woman, straight and ruler. So for the darts, I'm going to, in getting out and the darts, I'm going to use my bust span measurement. So the bust span is actually 9 inches. Her bust span is 9 inches. So I'm going to use sorry, her bust span is 8 inches. So I'm going to use measure 4 inches here on this part like this, and then I'm going to notch it with my. So this is where I'm going to just take the dart. I'm going to draw the dart. In drawing the dart, I'm just going to draw it to about and to the under bust line like this. So that's just what I'm going to do. So the next thing, now let's come to the neckline point. So I'm just going to do simple and canoe neckline for this dress. It's going to be high, but it's not going to be deep. So for the neckline, so because of her, I'm going to make use of about 4 inches. I'll make use of 4 inches or 4.5. Okay, I'll make use of 4.5 inches. And then from this point like this, I'm going to mark out 3 inches. And then I'm going to connect it like this with my ruler. Sorry, with my pattern core. So from this point, I'm going to take my shoulder slope. So I'm just going to come to this point. I'll measure 1 inch. So you could use half an inch. And then I'm going to slope it from the neckline point like this. So you see, I hope it is obvious. I hope you can see it. The chalk is obvious. So now we're going to cut out the back and the front together. When I'm done, I'm going to insert the back neckline. So before I cut out, let me just insert the back neckline. So the back neckline, so for this one, the length, I actually use 3 inches. So for the back neckline, I'm going to make use of about 2 inches or 1.5 inches. So that's just the difference. So I'm just going to put this like this, and then I'm going to mark it like this. So I'll connect it, and then I'll cut out the back. So you could see the back. You see the back armhole. I forgot to say that the back armhole is a little bit bigger than the front. So when cutting, you put that into consideration. So I'm just going to slant this now. So I'm going to open on my zipper allowance and parts now. But before I open it up, I'm going to cut my lining for this dress. So because I'm going to add the lining to it. So you are just going to place it. So in stitching it, you're just going to turn with your lining. You're just going to place it. Okay, this is the back piece. So I'm going to open it up now. I've opened the lining, so I've opened up the fabric. So I'm going to go and start stitching now. So after stitching, I'm going to stitch the front and the back. I'm going to stitch the dress, and then I'll show you on the machine how to attach your pleats. It's really simple. Okay, so I've cut out the amount of fabric that I'm going to be pleating at the down part of the waist and circumference. So in order for you to know how much fabric you are going to cut out, this is optional because it is a pleated dress. So you can decide to make use of your entire 6 yards. Depends on how full you want it to be. But for my case, the waist measurement that I'm actually making use of for this dress is 28 inches. So I'm just going to approximate it to 30 inches. So and I'll times it by 2 and then add an extra 10 inches to it. So that's the amount of fabric that I cut out. So the waist and measurement is 28, so I approximated it to 30. So that's 30 times 2, which is 60, plus another 10 inches, that's 70 inches. So the full entire strap is 70 inches. So that's what I'm going to be pleating. So if you want it fuller, you can make it 3 times. So the next thing you are going to consider now is the length. So for the length, the full length of the dress is actually 55 inches. And you remember initially we measured out 15 inches. That's for the top part of our bodice. So what is going to be left now, that's what we are going to use for the down part of our ball gown. And so what is going to be left now is 40 inches. So we're just going to measure out 40 inches. So this is like 40 inches here. So I'm not going to cut it out. I'm just going to leave it. At the end of the day, I'm going to use it to do a double what do you call it, double and roll fold. So it will make the down part of the dress to be heavy. So because the lining I'm making use of is not going to get to the down part, so it will make the down part to look full, to look heavy, not really full. So I'm just going to keep this, and then I'm going to go and start stitching the blouse. So okay guys, so welcome back. So you could see, so I finished coupling the top part of my bodice. So the neckline, I just finished it up with a bias binding. So I just wanted to add a little color to it. So this is the back. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to open this up. So I'm going to just cut it open. So before we are going to start stitching on the down part on it. So I'm going to open this up now. So this is my fabric that I'm going to be using for the down part. So I've measured it out before. So here's what we are going to do in pleating it. So I'm going to place, so you could see that my dress is divided into 4 parts. So that's from the zipper to the side seam, and then from the side seam to this point, and then to this point. So I'm going to put all those parts into consideration, because I'm just going to be pleating straight on it like this. So I'm going to take, so this is just like the easiest way of pleating a dress. That's for like for beginners. This is just like the easiest way. So I'm just going to put a notch here. So I can decide to trim out the savage. So, but I'm going to use the savage as guide for me when I'm placing on my fabric. So I'm going to take this now. So I know that this is the half part. So I'm just going to take this now. I'm going to start from the half part. So with that, I will know how to do my pleats properly. So this is like on the center. And then I'm just going to take the center of this point like this. I'm going to create my first pleat. So you're just going to decide how big you want your pleat to be. So I'm just going to take like this. I'm going to place like this. So I've created my first pleat like this. Okay, so I'm almost at the end of the last pleat now. So I'm just going to do the last one like this. So I'm going to repeat the whole process for this other side. So in doing this side, here's what I normally do, because I want my pleats to be fuller at the center. Here's what I normally do. I'm going to start this. So I'm just going to take this piece like this, and then I'm going to start pleating from this side. So with that, I'll be able to control the pleats. So once I'm having any excess, I would place them at the center. So that would now make my dress to be fuller at the center. So I'm just going to do this now. So I'm going to start I'm going to start stitching from edge. You're just going to stitch a little bit and straight like this, and then before you start pleating. You see my dress, so you see the middle, so you see the pleats, so it really came out nicely. Okay guys, so welcome back. So you could see the dress. So I finished fixing the zipper at the back, and then the only thing that is remaining now is our sleeve. So for the sleeve, I'm going to be doing, like I told you initially, I said I'm going to be doing a cold shoulder sleeve, but this cold shoulder sleeve that I'm going to be doing, cold shoulder circle sleeve, I'm not going to be using the regular circle sleeve pattern to cut it. I'm going to be cutting it like a flare, because at the front I want it to lap on each other. So I'm going to show you, this is just like another way of cutting this sleeve. So it's going to be fine, it's going to lap on top. So I'm going to cut. So this is my fabric, but I'm going to use this lining to cut it, so you will see it properly. So here is my lining now. So I'm placing both of them together, the two sleeves together, so I'll cut at once. So I'm just going to fold it like this. So the circumference of my sleeve, that's my round sleeve, that's this point like this. I'm using this entire length is 16 and 9, 8 plus 6, okay, 9 is 18 inches. Okay, so it's 18 inches. So that's what I'm going to use to cut it. So but before then, I'm going to cut out and measure out the length of my sleeve. So the length that I want to use, I'm going to be making use of 9 inches for this, because I'm going to be stitching it, because I'm going to be folding, okay, because I'm going to be turning it. So I'm going to use 9.5 inches. So I'm going to just mark my 9.5 inches round. So I've cut out the flare, that's the length of the sleeve. So this is the length. So the next thing, I'm using 18 inches, which is so I'll divide 18 inches by 6.28, which is the regular formula for calculating flare. So after calculating it, what I got here was actually 2.86. So what I'm going to cut out here now, I'm just going to measure it like this, and then I'm going to cut it out like this, 2.86. So I cut it out now. So this is what I'm going to have now. So after cutting this now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut this now on my fabric. So I'll use this now, cut out the second one from this side. Okay, so now here's what is different about this sleeve. So I'm going to open it up on one side, and then I'm going to take it to my machine. I'm going to sew it and turn it. So you see, I finished stitching the both and sleeves. So you see what I did. This was what I was trying to explain to you. Here was what I did. So I just stitched it around, both on the front, the top and the bottom. So I just opened up a little part of it, so I'll be able to turn it in out. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you how to connect this sleeve. So it's really nice. So here's what we're going to do. So I'm just going to take the sleeve like this. I'm placing it. So I just want to get the center of my sleeve. So this is like the center. So I'm just going to put a tiny notch here, and then from this notch point, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to measure, and since I'm doing a cold shoulder, I'm just going to measure how much of drop I want on the sleeve part. So here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be using about 4 inch to 5 inch, 4.5 to 4 inch. So here's what I'm going to do. So this is like 4.5 inch. So I've put a mark on it. So I'm going to do the same thing for the back. So I'm just going to notch it, so it will make it easier for me. So I have a notch on the back. I have a notch on the back point. So here's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to take the notch part from the center. I'm just going to use pins to indicate this for you so you understand. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to place it on the center, and then I'll pin. So I'm just going to assume that this is me stitching it. So you stitch it. So we're going to be stopping it here. So you continue stitching. So you're just going to stitch this to this side. You're just going to continue stitching like this. So I'll stitch, and then when I get to this point, so my marked point, so that's the last point I'm going to stitch. I'm going to stop it there. So you see what I have. So I'm going to do the same thing to this other side also. So once you stitch and to that point, you're going to stop. So that's where you want your cold shoulder drop to be. So here's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to take, and this part now, that's this remaining part of my sleeve, I'm going to tuck it into this point like this. So like I said, I want it to cross. So you see what I have now. So with this now, you'll be able to get your sleeve and measurement. So I'm just going to take it and then bring it to this point. So I'm crossing it up to this point. So you see what I have now. So I'm going to cross it up to this point. So you use your measurement now, your sleeve measurement. That's your round and sleeve measurement. That's, and this part of your sleeve measurement, that's what you are going to use to what do I call that now? That's what you are going to use to wrap it. So mine, I'm just going to take it up to this point because this is my own measurement. So you can decide to measure. You understand? You can just measure it out. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do a top stitch on top of this point like this. I'll do a top stitch on it. So for this part of your sleeve, you can decide to shape it however. You can, like this now, you can even decide to curve it. You can decide to curve it like this a little bit. So you can put any design. So at the end of the day, so here's how my sleeve is going to be. So this is the back. I'm just going to show it to you. So here is the back of my cold shoulder. So you see how it is. If you want it to drop more, all you are going to do is you are going to just bring it down. So you are going to use like 6 inches. So it depends on how open you want these points to be. So that is what you are going to use to drop. So you just take your measurement. You can measure it on your sleeve. So we're done with this video now. So I'm just going to go and fix it and then put it on my mannequin for you to see. So okay guys, so you could see, so this is the final look of the dress. So you could see the cold shoulder and sleeve. So this was the way I did it. So at the end of it, I just used I just top stitched it. So you see the way it is under. So you see, you just roll it just the way I showed you, and then you just stitch it to the person's sleeve and length here. So guys, if you find this video helpful, I would appreciate if you would give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you have not subscribed already, please subscribe, like my video. So thank you so much. I'll see you in my next video.